Hey everyone, welcome into the Thinking Crypto podcast, your home for cryptocurrency news and interviews. I'm your host, Tony Edward. On your way in, please hit that subscribe button as well as the thumbs up button and leave a comment below. If you're listening on a podcast platform such as Spotify or Apple, please leave a 5-star rating and review. So, folks, we're all waiting for the relief rally for Bitcoin to make a move up, and of course, the altcoins will follow. We have the conditions where we have extreme fear and we have oversold conditions. And we're looking for that counter trend move, right? Because a lot of people have given up on crypto. You got the headlines from mainstream media. And here is another catalyst that could send Bitcoin into a relief rally. Jim Cramer is starting to post bearish things about crypto. He said today, I watched the CoinDesk ticker. These cryptos are getting slaughtered today. And he's been posting some other things. So the fact that he's getting bearish and, it sets us up for some sort of rally. Now, is it guaranteed? Of course not. But, we've seen historically inverse Cramer more often than not plays out in our favor. So if he's bullish, you got to be worried. If he's bearish, then that's very good. So Bitcoin is still forming that wedge here, that micro wedge, which could turn out to be bullish, but also bearish, right? We are really at a crossroads. I know that's not what a lot of people like to hear. They want the absolute, right? Human beings hate uncertainty, but we have to wait to see what the market will show us and, what could be the catalyst to send the price higher. But look, the bears do have a solid case that this thing could go down and test 58K or whatever it may be first before we move up. So I think a relief rally is in the cards. It's a question of, is it about to happen? Or we go to the downside first before we see that relief rally. Now, tomorrow, we are supposed to hear from the Supreme Court regarding Trump's tariffs. Could that be a catalyst? It's possible, but not guaranteed. And we don't even know what type of details we're going to get from the Supreme Court because they've been pushing their ruling back by, I think, multiple times already. So we shall see. Is it going to be a rough Friday or a positive Friday? But patience is the key here, right? And we're going to have to let the market do its thing. Now, today, the crypto industry and the banking sector met again at the White House. This is the third meeting. It included folks from Coinbase, Ripple, as well as A16Z. So they're still trying to hash this out. What are they going to do with stablecoin yield? Well, Eleanor Terrett reported and gave some details. I'll highlight some of the takeaways here, although we don't have many details. They've been keeping this very close-lipped. In fact, it was reported that everyone had to hand over their cell phones, because they wanted to keep it as tight as possible. So public statements from the attendees are once again being described as productive and constructive. But what does this actually mean? Eleanor is asking that. Sources say there was a notable difference today. The White House took the lead in driving the discussion rather than letting crypto firms and bank trades steer the discussion as in prior meetings. I think this is good, right? Patrick Witt has been doing a great job. He's the White House Crypto Council Executive Director. So I think the first two meetings, the banking crypto sector gave their talking points and, their plans and so forth. Now it's time for the White House to lay down the law here and force these parties to come to some sort of agreement here. And again, we don't have any concrete statements or any details. We're going to have to wait. But nevertheless, this is very good. It's progress. Dialogue is happening. And this is better than no dialogue happening, right? I do believe they're going to figure it out. I don't know what the compromise is going to be. But, I'm certainly in favor of maintaining stablecoin yield. I personally participate on Uphold and Coinbase to get those stablecoin rewards. The banks don't like that I can do that. I personally bank with JP Morgan. I moved some of my capital out of JP Morgan onto these platforms because I'm earning a higher reward. Now I'm talking basic savings. I do have investments in TradFi products, equities, and so forth, high yield products, and so on. But the point is, I can diversify and put some of my basic funds without having to lock it up forever and all that jazz. Simply put it on these platforms and earn, right? And the banks, they're giving me, or JP Morgan's giving me 0.01%, which is ridiculous. But I can earn over 3% on Coinbase and up to like 5% on Uphold and so forth. So I'm speaking from experience here. And I'm sure my scenario is a representation of many folks in the industry. So we'll see how this, all pans out. Here's what Stuart Alderati, Chief Legal Officer at Ripple, had to say about the meeting. He said, "Many thanks to Patrick Witt for today's meeting and for his continued commitment to get clarity across the finish line. We rolled up our sleeves and went through specific language today. Work will continue in the coming days. Let's get this right and make the US the crypto capital of the world." So it sounds like there's some takeaways that are actionable items for both parties. So hopefully, guys, we get something soon, and then we can get the market structure bill pushed through in the Senate. And obviously, it has to go through its different processes and so forth, and then make its way to President Trump. Now, the prediction markets are calling for this thing to pass in 2026. So on Polymarket, the market structure bill being signed into law this year surged to 83%. And Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse, he was on Fox Business today talking about what Ripple has been doing, the crypto market, and he's giving an 80% chance that the Clarity Act passes Congress by April. So could we see this bill signed into law by end of Q2? It's certainly possible. And could it align with a relief rally, right? Because it would be a huge narrative. And maybe to the point of the charts of what we're looking at, we see the dump downwards, right? For Bitcoin, it goes to the 50K range or whatever it is. Then it bottoms out in March, and then we start climbing, and then we climb, the slow, steady grind, right? And we climb into April. Then this bill gets passed out of the Senate, goes to President Trump, and then, we see some sort of peak for the relief rally. Again, I'm just speculating, but we've seen how, buy the rumor, sell the news type things work, how market makers use these type of milestones and landmark moments to pump the prices up, right? And then you guys know how it all works, but it's certainly a possibility. So very, very interesting. We're going to see. I think this bill definitely gets through this year, guys. We are in the Senate. We're in the final innings because we know once it goes through the Senate, President Trump's going to sign it, right? He wants to get this done. The Senate is always the hard part of getting bills through. It's very hard to get bills and legislation through the Senate, not to mention the midterms are coming later this year. So anybody who's trying to block the crypto bills, they're going to get hammered, right? We saw the crypto industry spend an incredible amount of money in the 2024 election, and we saw how that panned out, right? The people who are anti-crypto got destroyed. So I'm optimistic this is going to get passed, guys, and we have to figure out the details of that stablecoin yield situation, though. Now, we have a big update from the SEC. So SEC Chair Paul Atkins plans to fast-track some crypto products, temporarily allowing certain tokenized securities to trade while long-term rules are developed. This is great. And it's already happening. You got BlackRock, Fidelity, Franklin Templeton. And in fact, I interviewed the head of digital assets at Franklin Templeton today. So these companies are building, they're ready to hit the ground running and push more, but they need, some certain clarity. And yes, the big overarching theme is getting the Clarity Act through. But if the SEC and these regulatory agencies like the CFTC give them the green light, they don't have anything to worry about. They can just go ahead, right? So I think that's what Paul Atkins is trying to do here. And this is the future, guys. The markets, the economies, and governments will all run on blockchain rails. So the tokenization of securities and commodities as well is where we're headed. Folks, this episode is brought to you by Proppy. Proppy is leading the charge of putting real estate on chain. They are taking AI and blockchain technology and disrupting the real estate market. You can buy and sell homes and apartments or whatever it is on Proppy's platform for crypto. So you can sell your house for Bitcoin, you could buy a house for Bitcoin, and they use Coinbase for the crypto escrow service. And they've tokenized real estate, they've put deeds on chain, they've created NFTs for properties. And I'm a Proppy token holder. I have been since 2018. I'm very bullish on this project. It's one of my long-term bets. And even billionaire investor Tim Draper is a big investor in this company. So they've been around since 2017. They've facilitated over $5 billion in deals. They recently raised $100 million to expand and build out their ecosystem. So again, we all know the real estate industry will be disrupted by blockchain, right? Where the process of buying and selling will use blockchain technology, cut out a lot of middlemen and costs, plus real estate will be on the blockchain fractionalized. So guys, you got to learn about Proppy. Go to proppy.com. Link will be in the description. So, folks, we have huge XRP news, very bullish XRP news. We've been seeing a lot of adoption of the XRP ledger ever since the SEC case got resolved. And this is where I go back to the critics, right? Because they were saying, oh, no one uses the XRP ledger. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock, because they were under a lawsuit. Why would anyone want to build on a chain that's, having a lot of legal issues? But now that that's gone, we're seeing building. So look at this. Societe Generale is building on the XRP ledger here. Casey Craddock, who is the managing director of UK and Europe at Ripple, said delighted that Societe Generale Forge ERU convertible is officially live on the XRP ledger. Bringing the ERU convertible to the XRP ledger is a huge win for the ecosystem, combining institutional grade compliance with speed and low cost the XRPL is known for. So really big adoption here, guys. This is huge. And here, Societe Generale Forge highlighted that this is indeed live on the XRP ledger. And they said here the aim. Here's what they're aiming to achieve. Enhance scalability and speed thanks to the XRP ledger's high performance infrastructure, lower transaction costs, a secure and decentralized layer one architecture. Big update. Now, here's more adoption of the XRP ledger. So Soil launches RLUSD yield protocol on the XRP ledger, expanding utility for Ripple's stablecoin. So let me give you the details. Soil has launched what it calls the first compliant real-world asset-backed yield protocol on the XRP ledger, adding on-chain returns to Ripple's RLUSD stablecoin just as XRPL pulls ahead of Solana in tokenized asset value. I've often told you guys, go to rwa.xyz and you will be able to see the building that's happening on these different blockchains, and the XRP ledger has been climbing. So developed by the ORQO group, Soil enables holders of RLUSD, Ripple's US dollar peg stablecoin, to deposit tokens into on-chain vaults on the XRP ledger that generate fixed returns backed by instruments including private credit, tokenized treasuries, and market-neutral hedging strategies. The company said its first $1 million in asset pools was filled in under 72 hours, highlighting demand for regulated stablecoin yield products within the XRPL ecosystem. Future pools are expected in the coming weeks, according to details the team shared with the block. Here's a quote. The stablecoin market's transition toward a multi-trillion-dollar ecosystem requires the right infrastructure to deliver institutional-grade yield at scale, Nick Motz, CEO of ORQO Group and CIO of Soil, said. So, huge adoption. We are seeing more and more building of the XRP ledger and the adoption of Ripple's stablecoin RLUSD. Many of you know I hold the XRP token in my portfolio. In fact, it's my largest holding. Now, obviously, it goes without saying the past bull market was lackluster, but it wasn't just for XRP, it was for all altcoins, right? But again, once we get market structure, guys, and all these on-ramps, these ETFs and all these things that are being set up globally are fully in place. We know a lot of them are in place here in the United States. I think that kicks off the super cycle. And then when you have this type of building on these chains, more and more building, and of course that's going to increase once the market structure is passed. These blockchain networks, the valuation is going to go higher. Metcalfe's law is going to play out here. Reed's law as well, right? Plus the native tokens will do well. So you're going to see a lot more speculation and buying of the respective tokens on the chains. The big thing is, can you be patient? Can you have the macro view? And that is the challenge for many folks. And I'm not saying it's easy, but this is where you want to not be emotional about markets. You want to look at the facts and what's being established and built and have that long-term view. Now, look at this. The CME Group is going to launch 24/7 crypto futures and options trading in early 2026. So the move is pending regulatory approval. It would align trading on key institutional derivatives marketplace with the nonstop nature of crypto markets. Notice how crypto is forcing all these TradFi institutions, stock exchange, and much more to go 24/7, 365, right? Crypto was the first to do this 24/7 and even the first truly global market because of the blockchain technology, right? And now TradFi is building on these blockchains and also going 24/7. So This is why I'm bullish on the macro, guys. And look at all these financial products and things that are being set up. Now, I know some of you are going to say, Tony, futures not good. I know. They're going to be used to short the market. But look, this is the nature of markets. We can't control that. So this is where we're going to buy the blood in the streets, right? And be patient and sell the euphoria. And we know that when the bear market rolls around, the futures are used to short the hell out of these assets. But again, there's nothing we can do about that. We can only, worry about what we can control and not what we can't control. So this is just an example of where the puck is heading. 24/7 trading markets, token economy, right? All the markets and capital markets running on blockchain rails, folks. Now, apparently May 29th is when this is going to launch. There was an update to the article. So this is coming and maybe it aligns with what we were talking about earlier of, Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse saying this bill could pass Congress by the end of April. Could we see some epic relief rally? Certainly possible, but we're going to have to be patient here. But guys, I love what I'm seeing. Things are moving in the right direction. Make sure you got the macro view. Make sure you check your emotions at the door. You don't want to be emotional about markets. I know it can be tough sometimes, with the volatility. I've often stated it's like a pendulum where the market swings very high, but then it swings very low, right? But you want those swings because the upside is incredible. Crypto is the fastest horse in the race. It's why crypto has outperformed other asset classes over the past 10 years, right? Bitcoin, not to mention the altcoins, which typically outperform Bitcoin. But we typically use Bitcoin as the benchmark, but incredible stuff here. Folks, that's the news. Let me know what you think. Leave your thoughts and comments below. Hit the thumbs up button. Subscribe if you haven't as yet. Be sure to support the podcast by subscribing to my free email newsletter. It is 100% free. Link will be in the description. Check out my book on Amazon. It's available in paperback and digital. And my course at mycryptocourse.com. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you all, and I'll talk to you all later.